Welcome back, brothers and sisters. Today I want to tell you why Alchemy Labs are the perfect place to kill your D&D party, or at the very least a couple of the characters, starting with the fact that they are filled with vaults of acid. Could be in a pit trap. You don't fall into a bunch of spikes, you fall into a pit of armor disintegrating, flesh melting acid, or it spills down from the ceiling to start flooding the room, or you've got giant tanks of it all over the place that a giant golem that the party is fighting in this place is knocking over and spilling across the floor, so it's limiting characters' movement. If a character goes down and they're unconscious and acid starts filling the room, they're probably dead. How else could you use vaults of acid? It could be a thing that a fireball, like any sort of fire magic, could cause these things to erupt from all the fumes coming off of it, cause it to explode and fill the room with acidic vapors. That would be really dangerous and really cool. And acid doesn't even just have to kill a character. It doesn't have to just deal damage. Like I'd said a second ago, maybe it affects their armor, or it affects their weapons, like a rust monster's effect. If you get splashed with a bunch of acid, you have to make a dex save, or it's going to reduce your AC by a D4. Or if you want to make it super crazy acid, a D6 or D8, right? It could be crazy. Thing number 2 that makes Alchemy Labs so good at killing characters: they're filled with pressurized tanks or stills, canisters, all those types of things. Stills, like what you would like brew alcohol and stuff in, but they are you have these giant metal or wooden tanks that are extremely pressurized through steam or fire or magics, even just whatever you need it to be. And if there is a misplaced shot from a crossbow or a firearm or a spell, and it hits one of these, like if it's in the line of fire, you best believe I'm having my characters make a check to see if they hit that. And if they do, does it explode? Does it cause a ginormous thunder wave spell to basically go off when it detonates? And can that set off other canisters? Like if the party is in a room that has 4 or 5 or 6 of these giant pressurized metal tanks, and one of them blows up, all of those going off at once could easily kill one, if not multiple characters. Although that is a fun thing that, like, you don't have to just use that to kill a character. That's a fun ability for players to mess around with to kill a monster. Lure it into the room, set off the trap, light the fuse, have it blow up the bomb, and boom, that whole room explodes, killing whatever's inside. I think that would be really, really fun. Another thing that makes them so deadly: polymorph runes. Simple trap where you walk in, trigger it, and you have to make a save, or you're polymorphed into a rock. A pair of alchemical gloves. Ooh, that would be cool. An alchemical guild that all of their supplies is made out of the intruders or their enemies who they've like true polymorphed into it. Oh man, that would be awesome. And even though that might not be deadly, it will require the party to use up spell slots to reverse it, to cleanse their fellow party members. So I think that's equivalent to deadly. Alchemy was all about turning a base metal into a precious metal, right? Take your iron and turn it into gold. That's a form of polymorph, of transmutation. So your Alchemy Labs are going to be filled with all kinds of polymorph traps. There's going to be runes on the floor, on the door handles, on the very precious, valuable machinery that only the highest ranking members of the alchemical guild were allowed to use. And so when the party touches it, it's going to turn them into something. I had an idea of an alchemical guild, an order whose laboratory is stocked with equipment that they don't actually purchase. They don't go out and buy gloves and aprons and beakers and all that kind of stuff. They use their enemies. The people who intrude into this place and got polymorphed into an apron, there you go. That true polymorph spell has just created all of the materials that this alchemy guild uses in their sciences. I think that is so sinister and so cool. And even if polymorph isn't like deadly per se, at the very least, it's going to cause your party to need to use their potions or their spell slots to reverse those effects, or having a fun opportunity, like if your party doesn't have any of that stuff, if they don't have the right spells prepared, then they're going to need to be doing some intelligence checks to try and create some sort of tonic or some sort of alchemical mixture in this lab to reverse these effects. And all of that is either using up valuable time, or it's using up their valuable spell slots and resources, which will make future combats deadly. So polymorph ruse, very cool one. Another idea, of course, anywhere where you've got giant vaults of acid or giant tankards filled with bubbling liquid gives you an opportunity to introduce oozes. And one gelatinous cube can be super deadly to a low-level party. Even high-level parties, you throw enough oozes at a group where you've got 3 tankards filling a room, and every round they're producing a new ooze, or there's one big giant still that is producing 1d4 oozes. Until the party shuts that thing off, figures out a way to destroy it, they're going to just keep having these enemies thrown at them. And they're oozes, they're enemies you can do fun things with. doesn't just have to be you're taking acid damage. What if these oozes do some sort of polymorph effect? You get sucked inside this alchemy ooze, and it can transmute you into something. It can turn you into an ooze, or it can melt down your armor and turn it into precious gold. That's a fun thing because the alchemy order is wanting it to do that, right? They want to gather up all this precious metal after the group is killed, but it does give your party an opportunity to get some extra loot after an almost deadly combat, right? Somebody in the party loses all their armor and it was turned into gold. That sucks, and now you're more vulnerable in future combats, but at least we have all this gold to go use and sell off in town. That's pretty useful. Now, probably my favorite idea on this deadly list of ideas is flesh-eating viruses. A big part of alchemy, at least historically, was creating an immunity to all disease, immortality, making humans unable to succumb to disease and that kind of stuff. So, of course, if you're wanting to do that, then they must be studying this kind of stuff, right? These alchemists must have these like rooms that are sealed off with magical wards to contain some terrible bacteria or a virus or a plague, whatever you want. Maybe it's the zombie plague. That's what they're researching. Or I just like the idea of just like some sci-fi flesh-eating crazy virus that just reduces you down to bones in a matter of seconds. This could just be like anywhere in this place. And if the party's in a combat and they smash open a couple of these beakers and release this, like you just took maybe a low-level combat against a couple oozes to a super deadly high-level combat where these invisible clouds of flesh-eating viruses are moving all over the place. Maybe a fairy fire spell or an sea invisibility spell would allow characters to be able to be like, that 10-foot by 10-foot zone over there contains the virus and it's expanding every round. We gotta go. We gotta get out of here. But just a flesh-eating virus is a threat I've never really heard of being used in D&D, and I think it would be awesome, especially in an alchemical lab. Liches is also on this list. Alchemical labs or alchemy, ancient alchemy, was not only about curing disease, but I think I said it earlier, like immortality. The alchemists wanted to learn how to create the immortal being. That's a lich. That's what a lich is. So you could, that's just a fun place to put a lich that you don't see them very often. Usually they're in like some winter lair or they're in just some tomb of annihilation, right? Some mega dungeon. But what if a lich was the leader of the alchemical guild or like the most powerful alchemical order in your D&D world? They started this thing to learn how to become immortal and they've maybe succeeded, or they're some sort of faulty lich, like they're still pursuing the true means to immortality, but lichdom is like the best thing they could find so far. So they've got all these evil alchemists all over the place doing their bidding for them. Or even like if you want to have it really be fun in like a political campaign, they are like have sponsored guilds in all kinds of cities. And this is how the lich has the kings and the queens under their thumb, because they run these orders that are producing so many cures to different diseases and all these potions and all that kind of stuff. That's deadly in a whole different way. Especially if you're leaning heavy into the RP sort of stuff, like liches being in control of the government systems. I don't even know what I would do. That's pretty crazy. Another idea: Midas traps. The Greek legend of the king that anything he touched turned to gold. Now this is similar to the polymorph runes, but I do think it could be something different here, where like maybe a certain cloud of vaporizing dust or some sort of alchemical dust fills a room if the trap's set off, and any metal it comes into contact with is transmuted into one of those precious metals. So your iron sword, your iron armor, if it's exposed to this dust, can turn to gold. Again, maybe that's useful to the party. Maybe they're happy about having gold to use now, and they use that to their advantage. But at the same time, if all of your armor gets turned to gold, like it's not nearly as resilient as it was when it was steel or iron. So you're kind of out of luck there. It could also be the thing of like a petrification trap. Not the same thing as polymorph, but where if you like with a hand, like if you this is a cool idea. If you're not wearing like the proper gloves or the proper laboratory equipment that these alchemists used, and you touch something in this lab, then you have to make a con save or your whole body turns to gold or some sort of gemstone or whatever these alchemists were researching. Fun, just a simple little trap that the party will have fun thinking their way out of, hopefully, after somebody gets turned into a solid statue of gold. Last idea, life-leeching traps. All kinds of necrotic spells going on here. Alchemists wanted to study life and death, healing magics and killing magic. So power word kill, drain life, whatever all the other crazy high-level necrotic spells are, use them in here, either as traps or give them to the alchemists. Let the alchemists have tools like here's an idea. What if there's a room that has some sort of like big, giant Tesla coily thing coming down to the center of the room? Like it looks like it's meant to harness all this power to a specific point. And this device was used to like harness life and heal. Maybe that's how they created the Lich, right? These things was meant to collect souls and just shove them all into one being, or the phylactery or whatever. So characters that are in this room, and if they're in the room and it gets turned on, then they Dr. Manhattan themselves almost. Like if you don't get out of this room in D4 rounds, then you're all going to be targeted by the power word kill spell. And you, or you're if you don't want to be that lethal, like some sort of effect is going to drain your HP and reduce your HP maximum, and it's going to pump all of that HP into this stone that, you know, maybe that's the Philosopher's Stone. That's just a random idea, but I just like that idea. Rooms that you're in or things you're coming into contact with are just draining you of your life, and you're not really able to get it back very easily while you're in this lab. That was just 8 ideas I had of how you can make an alchemical lab one of the deadliest places your party could explore. Now, if you want to run D&D in an alchemy lab, you should go check out the church's Patreon for $3. One of the most recent posts I'll have linked down below has 4 pre-generated maps. I also included some session prep templates for each of those maps. So there's one that has like a big blank area for session notes, and then one that has a space for each room on the map. They're labeled with numbers on those so that you can prep it however you want it. There are 8 of my, Doom style VTT terrain assets that I use to build all of the maps, so you can have those to make maps however you want. So you get a ton for just $3, and you also get access to everything that I've released beforehand. So that's a great way to support the church. Also, pay your hobby tithing, leave a like. And of course, the Dune Stronghold, my ongoing Kickstarter project for an RPG zine full of random tables to help you generate strongholds for your RPG campaigns, is still alive. We got 18 days left to go. We're almost at that $2,500 mark, which is our next stretch goal. We've unlocked, I think, like 6 or 7 so far. So if you haven't gone and checked that out, I know you're probably sick and tired of hearing me say that, but hey, you only got to hear me talk about it for 18 more days. Go check it out. Help the church by giving a tithing with this project. If we reach $5,000 by the end of the project, then all of the zines, which here's what this is the martyr tier. It comes with there we go. Comes with a ribbon bookmark. If we get to 5K, then all of the zines are going to get that. And the martyred ones will get like 2 in there. So that's kind of what we're working up towards. I want it to just be a really awesome zine that you're excited to have. And I'm making them by hand. So this is a like real DIY, embracing the crafting side of the hobby, trying to put that at the forefront of the church's efforts right now and show you like, hey, things you make with your own hands, things that have had a human interacting with it that aren't just some giant manufactured book, they're pretty freaking cool. So anyways, that's what I got going on. Thanks all for watching. Share your ideas for an alchemy lab down in the comments, and we say these things in their unholy names. Amen.